Hello everyone, welcome to Lost in the Stacks. It is May 4th, so may the 4th be with you. I am a Star Wars fan, don't come at me, but today is May the 4th, and so that means it is April wrap-up time. I've got some really great books I read, a couple short stories, a couple arcs. I'm very excited to talk about them, especially one book in particular, which I was anticipating loving. We'll see if I loved it or not. But yeah, let's get into it. So I think I want to start with the two short stories that I read. Let's see. The first one was one that was recommended by Carrie Can Read. If you love her videos just as much as I do, thank you. She's amazing. But this is Six Deaths of the Saint by Alex Harrow. It was on Prime Reading along with the other short story that I read for Amazon. 5 stars. Perfect. Sometimes I read short stories. Like currently I'm in the middle of a short story that's not going so well, and it's just kind of like meh. But this was on point. It follows a young woman who gets stuck in a time loop in a medieval style fantasy world, and she has six deaths of a saint. It's very harrowing, and also like the writing style is immaculate. The actual story is very on point. It feels very like it's a circle. It's very closed, open, closed, very complete feeling. And I like when an author can do that within like, I think it's like 40 pages. So very good short story. Loved it. Definitely recommend. The other short story I read was The Garden by Tomi Champion Adeyemi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I gave this one 4 stars. It was an existential conversation. It's the best way to describe it, between the two main characters, and there's a lot of poetry that goes in along with it. It's this girl. The one bad thing about living by a road is stuff like that happens. But anyways, the main character, she's going on a trip to find this place called the Garden, and her guide is the other main character, and they're having a conversation. There's a lot of poetry. I thought it was really beautiful, really well done. I wish there was more plot to it, because there didn't feel like there was a lot of plot. It was mostly just conversation. I like my existential conversations within good plot, and I didn't really like the ending very much. But I gave it 4 stars just because it was so beautiful and well written. And yeah, those are the 2 short stories I read. Let's talk about the couple of arcs. I got 2 advanced copies of books from NetGalley. One of them is, I'm so excited about this book. I read Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel last month. Loved it. Great book. Everything about it was perfect. I also just read Goddess of the River, which is her new book that comes out on May 21st. It is a retelling of one of the stories about the river goddess Ganga in India. I like how Vaishnavi goes and takes like Indian folklore, Indian mythology, and then like makes it into this beautiful story for us to read. The writing itself in this specific story was very poetic, and it honestly, the story felt like a river, like ebbing and flowing, going faster and slower at points, and like it very much felt like that. And I love how she did that. It was very beautiful. If you're looking for like a cozy, not necessarily cozy, but like more chill fantasy reading, something a little bit slower, a little bit calmer, this is a good book. I 5 stars, highly recommend. The second advanced copy of the book that I read because CG Drews recommended it on their Instagram is It's Only a Game by Kelsey Yu. This book was so traumatizing. Great, but traumatizing. And so I still don't fully know how I feel about it, because that's how I am with books that are like that. Like I love it, but I also don't love it, and I don't know how I feel about it. That might be the autism. I don't know. But it's about this girl who, we don't know anything about her past at the beginning. We learn more over the course of the story. But she plays this video game with all of her friends that she's made, and they get asked to go on this tour at the place where the video game is made, and things happen. Things go bad. It gets very dark and twisted. I expressly hate one of the characters because they're so just straight up evil. I would not recommend this book if you have parent trauma, specifically mother-parent trauma, because it's fun times. It was very traumatizing, but I really liked it. I liked the writing style. I liked the actual plot in the story. The characters were very well developed. There's definitely some good character arcs in there and progression of the story. So I gave it 5 stars because I really liked it. But yeah, it's traumatizing, so be aware of that going into it if you want to read it. So from here on out, I'm going to start going through all of the other books, normal books I read, starting with 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars. So let's start with 3 stars. I don't want to talk about this book. Lore of the Wilds by Annalee Sabrina, however you say her last name. I liked this book going into it. The first 80% was like, it was a little bit of an odd idea of a story, but it was still like really good, and I enjoyed it, and I probably would have given the book like 4.5 stars. But there are these 2 characters, the main character and this one other guy, like, and it's a fairy that she falls in love with. And there's a scene that comes out of nowhere like 80% of the way through the book. And honestly, when authors do that, it just kind of throws me off, and I'm not interested in it anymore. And it usually makes me just want to not read the book at all. I just kind of skimmed the rest of the book because I was just like, this is disgusting. It came out of nowhere. It was not well written at all, the way she put it. It was just, I was like, do you have to add fairy smut into a really, really good story? Like, this does not need to be here. It did not need to be there, like, at all. It made no sense to the book. It came out of nowhere, ruined the whole thing for me. So there's a second book coming out, but I'm not going to read it because I gave the book 3 stars because the first 80% of the book was so good, but it probably should have a lower rating. The other 3-star book was a novella. It's called Echo and Marble. It's by Corinne Koch. It was a really good idea for a story. It follows this author, or not author, but she's like a newspaper writer, and it lives in this fairyland, and she is asked to go write about this like party, and she ends up getting cursed to repeat everything other people say. So she can't say any of her own words. And so it affects her writing, her speaking, everything. It ruins her entire life. And there's this guy that, it's a very confusing plot at points, and I don't really know how to explain it. It was good. I liked it, but it was kind of confusing. I felt like it was too fast-paced. Like, especially the romance, because there is romance. I felt like it was too fast-paced. It just came out of nowhere. Didn't really, like, there wasn't enough build-up for the relationship. She just kind of all of a sudden was in love with him, and I don't like that. Like, it was just weird. But yeah, I thought it was a good idea. The writing style was pretty good. Like, I'd probably read more by this author, but I specifically didn't really like this novella. So yeah. I have 4 4-star reads from this month that I'm very excited to talk about. Because I liked all of these books. They just weren't quite 5-star reads, if you know what I mean. The first one is Damsel by Evelyn Skye. I think part of the reason that I like this so much was because I watched the Netflix movie and then I read the book and then I watched the Netflix movie again. Both of them are amazing. Love the movie. Highly recommend that movie. The book is really great too. There are differences between them. So basically Damsel is following this, she's like, I'm guessing like a lord's daughter. It's not really clearly explained in the movie. It is sort of explained in the book, but not greatly. She's a lord's daughter and she gets engaged to this prince of this island place, and she goes to the wedding and everything seems great, but then she gets sacrificed to a dragon. It's so good. Okay. It is so good. If you like tales of strong, independent women, this is a book for you. Because Elodie is, I love her. She's a great character. Very strong. She grows a lot in the book. You don't see it as much in the movie, but she grows a lot in the book. I definitely recommend, if you're going to watch the movie, also read the book. Them together is great. There is 2 main changes between the book and the movie, but I liked one of them. I liked one of them. I didn't like the other one. One of them was really good, and I could see why they couldn't do that in the movie. I'm not going to spoil it. I want to spoil it, but I'm not going to. You gotta read the book to find out, but it was a great ending. I loved the ending in both. They're both equally wonderful. Yeah. My favorite part about the book, though, was the author's daughter created a dragon language for the book. And I wish they had used it in the movie, because it would have been amazing. But in the book, it was really great. Yeah. Damsel by Evelyn Skye. The other book I read, or second book I read, was Mother Gothel by Mary McKine. This is an origin story for Mother Gothel. And I love Rapunzel, I love Tangled, great fairy tale, both Brothers Grimm, and yeah. This was really good. Like, if you like things that are set in like medieval times, like witches being persecuted, and or just herb witches, like not even like the magic, like scary stuff kind of witches, just like I make potions and heal people kind of witches, them getting persecuted, you will love this book. Like, there is some more of the like the spells and the magic later on, but in the beginning, when Mother Gothel is dealing with stuff, it's just because she knows how to use nature to heal people and take care of people. Like, so I loved this book. The only problem, and the reason I rated it 4 stars, was because there was not a lot of information on Rapunzel, and I spent the entire book waiting for her to show up, waiting to see what happens with that, and the author barely touched on it. So if you're looking for a Rapunzel story, this is not it. This is not going to talk about her. If you have to come to this book hoping just for the Mother Gothel part. There is not really any Rapunzel in here. Any part of her story, like, it's just the very beginning of Rapunzel's story. And I think it'd be really cool if the author wrote a second book, like a sequel, that was Rapunzel's story, and it was from her perspective. That would be really cool. I would enjoy that. But yeah, don't go into this hoping for Rapunzel. You're not gonna get it. Okay, third 4-star book. Good Girl, Bad Blood. This is by Holly Jackson. This is the second book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I am loving this series so much. So much. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Pip is amazing. Ravi is amazing. It was a little slow, like the first third of the book I had a really hard time getting into. So this second book follows, it's like the sequel to the first book, so it's going into another person goes missing, and it has a lot of the same characters, a lot of the same drama. So like the first like third was kind of slow to get into, but then it started ramping up and like getting more like action and suspense, and yeah. Yet again, Pip almost dies at one point. Again, the ending was very traumatic for Pip, and honestly I feel bad for her, and I'm very interested to see what Holly Jackson does in the third book with the story and completing it, because I think the third book is the one where she goes to college, because this is second semester senior year of high school. So I'm excited to see what she does. I really am liking this series. I'm hopefully going to read the third book this month in May. We'll see. But yeah. Okay, so last 4-star read is The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. And I was like so hyped up for this book, like waiting for it, because I love Leigh Bardugo. And also it's set during the Spanish Inquisition. Like, who's gonna pass that up? Like, that was so much drama. I'm a history nerd, so that like makes me happy. I really liked the story. I think I would have liked it more if I didn't know it was Leigh Bardugo. And this is something that I heard from another bookstagrammer as well, that she felt like she would have liked it more if it wasn't Bardugo, because Leigh Bardugo, you expect a specific way that she's writing, a specific style, and this is very much not like any of her other books at all. Like, yes, it's historical fantasy, but so I was expecting it to be a little bit different, but the whole writing style, it feels like you're a fly on the wall. Instead of like you being embedded in the story, you're just watching the story, and I didn't really like that very much. I love the story itself. Romance was great. The story was great. The plot was great. Like, I really liked how it talks a lot about the, like, religious stuff with, the Spanish Inquisition, and you can tell Bardugo did her research. But yeah, I didn't really like the writing style all that much. But it was really good. Yeah. If you don't know what it's about, The Familiar is about this girl, Lucia, who is a scullery maid, and she can do little scraps of magic to help throughout her day, like taking burnt bread and making it fresh again. Her mistress finds out, starts making her perform these little miracles for people, and then higher people find out, and then she gets into this whole like mess, and there's this guy not named Santangel, and their relationship is adorable, and I love it. But yeah, I did enjoy this book. It was worth the money that I spent for it, to pre-order it. But yeah, I didn't really like the writing style. But other than that, it was a great book, and I do recommend reading it. Okay, let's talk about 5-star reads. Let's see, which one do I want to say for last? Let's do that one last. Okay, so first one is The House. Why did the lighting change all of a sudden? I don't know. Anyways, The House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. I love T. Kingfisher. Her writing is very spooky and creepy, and it's like very like, yeah, I love it. This was yet another book like that. I was entranced the entire time. It just like, her writing just like sucks you in, and it doesn't let you out until you're like at the very end of the book, and you're just like, oh, coming out of a trance. Like, anyways, it is about this girl who is on academic leave. She goes to stay with her mom in the house that her grandmother used to own. But come to find out, there's some weird things going on here. And it escalates very quickly. It's a shorter book. It's like 230 pages. But if you love T.K. Misher, if you love like creepy, spooky stories, it was amazing. So very rarely do I pick up a book and then immediately read it. Like, normally my books that I buy just go on my TBR shelf to be read at an indeterminate time. But I bought Gallant this month. I broke my little book buying ban that I've been on and bought Gallant by V.E. Schwab. I was walking through Barnes & Noble and I was just looking at books. I wasn't planning on buying them. I was just looking at them. And I saw this book and I was like, Christy, come buy me. You want to read me. And like, I was just drawn by the cover. Like, look how beautiful this cover is. And also it's a weird shaped book because it's almost a square. It's not like a normal shaped book. Like a normal shaped book, like, it's so different and I love it. I love it so much. So I was drawn to it by that, but like all the drawings and stuff in here are also gorgeous. But I was drawn by the beauty of the book and its design, but then the story is absolutely beautiful and gorgeous as well. And like, you follow this girl who, she's lived in an orphanage all her life, and then this mysterious uncle comes out of nowhere and just like, hey, come live with me in Gallant, this place that your mother warned you never to go to. And it just spirals, and it's really, really fascinating. And there's a lot of discoveries that you make about the main character as you go along, and little tiny bit of like romance, but not like anything major. It's like a little bit of teasing. I don't know if you would call it, I thought it was flirting, who knows. But I really, really like this book, Gallant by V.E. Schwab. It's time to talk about my favorite books that I read this month. Emily Wilde has finally been read by Christy Darling. I am so happy about this book. Okay, this book, and I also read The Map of the Otherlands, which I don't have in my hand because that would be weird holding two books. But this book was so good. Like, I was expecting, you expect cozy fantasy to be kind of slow and like hard to follow. No, this was great. Like, this is the kind of book you read on a rainy day with a cup of tea and you like just devour it. Same with Map of the Otherlands. Both of them were so good. The characters are so lovable. I love Emily Wilde. And Wendell is just adorable as well. Like, there's not a lot of romance. Like, there's some romance, but it's not like in your face. Like, it's just like a little trail behind the scenes that just like sweeps you under, and you enjoy it, and it's gentle and it's warm and it's fuzzy and it gives you cozy feelings. Like, I love this. And honestly, okay, Emily is definitely like autistic coded and Wendell's very much ADHD, and seeing the like them two working together, if you've ever had like an autistic and an ADHD friend working together on something, it is very entertaining. I have been the autistic friend working with an ADHD friend or something. It is very entertaining. I know it is. But this is such a good book. And Emily Wilde is a dridologist. I think that's how you say it. She studies fairies, and so does Wendell. And she travels studying fairies, goes on all these great adventures, gets in a lot of like tight spaces with those fairies. And these fairies are just kind of like very mischievous, very evil. And then there's Poe, which you'll meet Poe. Poe's great. Poe's amazing. He's a great little fairy. But yeah, it's such a good book. I'm very excited for the third book, which comes out next February. If I can get my hands on an advanced copy, I will, because I'm so excited. Yeah, those were my favorite books that I read. It's Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies and Map of the Otherlands. And I read these from the library. And then my husband got them for me for my birthday, and I'm very happy that I own my own copy because they're so pretty. So, yeah. Those are all the books I read. I read a lot of books. I'm gonna count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books, 2 short stories, which I say count as a whole book. That's pretty good. Like, that's a pretty good reading month for me. Like, that's my average is about 10 to 13 books. So I feel like that was pretty good. I'm trying to not rush myself with reading, but I also want to rush with reading because I have like all of these books that I want to read. Right now I'm reading These Violent Delights, which I'm enjoying a lot, by the way. But I want to like gobble books up, but I don't necessarily have the time to gobble books up like I want to. If anyone wants to give me money so that I don't have to work for a week, I would be very grateful. I am actually going on a cruise near the end of this month. So a lot of reading will probably be done while I'm on there, but the problem is deciding which books to bring. Because I have a really long physical TBR and also a really long, like, digital TBR. And I have to decide which books I want to bring. And I don't know how to decide that because I'm a mood reader. So what am I to do? I don't know. We'll find out. I will see y'all next month at least. Maybe I'll record something else. Maybe a reading vlog while I'm on the cruise. We'll see what happens. But yeah, thanks for joining me as I talk about all the books that I've read in April. Yeah, bye.